Using a rack is not just about convenience. It is also about the possibility. For some cargoes, the rack is both an aid and a luxury. We like to think that transporting a bike falls into that category. Except you are using a pickup truck and similar vehicles, the size of the bike requires a rack. Some people take out the front or two wheels of the bike to transport it inside the vehicle. Without a reasonable doubt, this is a stressful procedure. We do not even like the thought of changing a flat bicycle tire, talk less of removing the tires for such trips. Also, after use, the state of the bike may not be ideal for the vehicle's interior. For instance, while riding, you may have passed through a dirty pothole filled with mud. In plain terms, the bike should be where it is meant to be, which is the exterior. How then do we go about this? The solution lays with the various bicycle racks. They afford us options with advantages and disadvantages. Let's talk about the bike racks and how to install a bicycle rack on your car. If you are an ardent follower of our channel, you certainly know the drill. As far as the car's exterior is concerned, your bike can be placed in 3 ways. These places justify the names of the bike racks. The roof rack allows you to position your bike on the roof. The hitch rack allows you to use the hitch or tow bar for that purpose. Also, the trunk rack is what it is. A rack fastened to the trunk of your car. It is an easily detachable frame designed to house your bike at the back of your car. Haven said this: "We will answer the question of how to put a bike rack on your car. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to attaching a rack to any of the 3 exterior openings. Every one of these openings has a peculiar feature that should be considered while installing the rack. However, let's start by discussing the peculiarities and features of the 3 rack frames. The roof, hitch, and trunk rack do not have uniform features. They are positioned in varying ways, and in that regard, they have different qualities. Let us go over some of these peculiarities and how they might influence your choice of either 3 rack frames. 1. Roof rack. This position has its pros and cons. Let us kick off this segment with the advantages. Whichever way, the bike's roof rack frame does not obstruct the driver's vision while in motion. If you are a driver, you know how much of an advantage this is. When in motion, you want to look at the rear mirror and other parts of the vehicle without obstruction. Well, the roof rack grants you that wish. With this rack system for conveying your bike, your view of any part of the road isn't obstructed. Aside from housing the bike in motion, we like to think the popularity of the roof rack is down to this. This is because, for other kinds of cargo, the roof rack is very popular. Here, we are talking about items such as ladder racks, kayak racks, canoe racks, among others. You would hardly see any sort of cargo on a rack outside the roof. Furthermore, the roof rack allows for a wide range of options. The choice of a roof rack is dependent on the kind of roof structure a vehicle has. We have various types of roof structures. The raised rail, factory tracks, naked structure, among others have roof rack provisions. The mounts used on these varying structures, consider the differences. The mounts for a gutter rail cannot be used on a raised rail. That would be like putting a square peg in a round hole, it just would not fit. Also, by default, no other exterior part of your car can accommodate so much like the roof. Many bike racks brands have features that allow you to carry more than one bike. We like to think the roof rack is best at doing this. There is no doubt some trunk and hitch racks are designed to do this. However, the massive length and breadth of your car's roof is a major advantage in this regard. It allows you to house more bikes, as far as the roof rack has provision for that. Having spoken about the highs, let us talk about the disadvantages. Without mincing words, height can be one hell of a problem for any car owner. Cars, even SUVs, are designed not to exceed their height for some reason. Well, the roof rack when fully used, may not consider this. Have you ever seen an upright positioned bike on a roof rack? That is pretty high, as it adds a couple of inches to the car's height. How is the additional height a problem? Imagine having to drive through areas with low-hanging tree branches, designated tunnels to keep out trucks and high vehicles, or having to go through the garage or carport. For a car, unwarranted height can be a problem. The bike roof rack makes you vulnerable in that regard. While it does not obstruct your view, your mobility may be hampered. Also, have you thought about mounting the bike on the roof rack? Since the roof rack is on the roof, it requires that you lift the bike onto the roof. If you have a small stature, this might be very difficult. Also, for an SUV which is taller than most people, you would need the services of a stepladder. Safety precaution also has to be on the high. We once heard of a terrible experience where the user fell backward with the bike hitting his face. For a bicycle roof rack user, you should use a helmet while mounting the bike to this rack frame. Lastly, we like to think the roof rack alters the aesthetic purpose of the roof. The sight of an upstanding bike on a roof rack gets a lot of attention. Sometimes, this is for the wrong reason. The position of the bike can seem lousy for some. 2. Hitch rack. It might interest you to know that the hitch rack is also known as the tow bar rack. The reason is not far-fetched. This rack system makes use of the protruded hitch under the back of the vehicle. We like to think this is the best option for carrying the roof rack. The convenience of this system outweighs the roof rack by a margin. This is considering that you do not have to lift the bike onto the roof of your car. The hitch rack is well within your reach, and this is a major advantage. In this regard, this is a very safety-conscious rack system. Also, the hitch is a formidable base for housing the bike rack. This is a part that can allow every part of your car to be pulled without snapping. Relying on the formidability of this part is a great idea. Some of these hitches have trays that make the work less difficult. Compared to the roof rack, it is easier to detach the hitch rack when not in use. Well, the hitch rack is certainly not without a fault. Let us go over some of the disadvantages as perceived by some. Nonetheless, we still regard it as the best bike rack option. First, not every car has a hitch or tow bar. Also, the back view is obstructed. When driving, you will need a free and uninterrupted back view. The hitch rack with your bike or bikes may not do this. When reversing, you need to be extra careful because of the clumsy nature of the bike on a hitch rack. The hitch rack increases the length of your car. It isn't enough that it clouds your back view vision while driving, as it also increases the length of your car. As a result, caution is of the essence while reversing and driving at large. 3. Trunk rack. Remember that part of not using the rack often? The trunk rack is the best alternative for such people. If you want something, but would seldom use it, you need it to be easily detachable. Well, that is one feature the truck rack offers you. Without causing you stress, you can just undo the various straps and hooks that hold the rack to the car trunk. However, it also has a couple of disadvantages. For instance, its easily detachable feature is a tragic flaw. This makes the bike and the entire rack vulnerable to theft. Asides that, as with the hitch rack, the trunk rack can be a hindrance to the driver. It clouds the back of the vehicle, which is meant to be clear. This deters the driver from seeing properly, especially when moving the car backward. Also, you should know that the safety of your bike is heavily dependent on the straps and how firmly you fasten them. These straps are held onto the car trunk with hooks. This works fine but is not the best alternative in our assessment. We should also add that some exceptional trunk rack brands take care of these flaws in various ways. We know of a brand that makes use of many strategically positioned straps. Lastly, among other things, the truck rack may leave its adverse effect of your car's topcoat. The tight metallic hooks will likely leave scratches and marks on the car's paint. This is a major concern for a lot of users, as these are not just orange peel scratches. These are marks that eat deep into the top coat if not addressed on time. If the trunk rack is not frequently detached, some users will be kept in the dark as to this flaw. To prevent this, some brands add scratch protectors to their hooks. If yours does not have this, you can add that feature manually. However, you should know that the scratch protection material will rub off over time. As a result of this, you should constantly check out for the effects of the rack on your car's top coat. When you observe that the scratch pad is not doing enough, you should replace them. Aside from these challenges, the trunk rack is also a great option. This is especially for seldom users of the rack. So, up until now, we have discussed the peculiarities of all three rack frames. Now that you know them, how about the process of installing them onto a car? Let's start with the hitch rack. How do you install a hitch rack on a car? First things first, before purchase, be certain that your car has the option of a hitch. Also, make sure the rack's attachment aligns with the hitch of your car. This is just the first part of this video. For more on this subject, please check the description below for a link to the second video. If you've enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you'll know once we post a new video. Also, drop a comment below so we can know your thoughts. Finally, don't forget to check the description below for more details and visit our site www.zimcarcarriers.com for more awesome car carrier content like this.